Good morning and welcome back to the Chaplain channel. My name is Natalie and I am the chaplain. And we have been making these videos since the end of December of last year. I'm just like so amazed that this has worked out the way it has. We started out by reading from my book, Little Wife, and then we read from God's Word. We read the book of Revelation, and then we read the Gospel of St. John. And now we are reading this book, Is It My Fault? So we're back to talking about domestic abuse. But first, I would like to read Psalm 27, verses 1 through 6. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies, my foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret place of his tabernacle. He shall hide me, he shall set me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Therefore I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. That is Psalm 27, verses 1 through 6. Love that psalm. And now we're going to begin chapter 3 from Is It My Fault? The title is, Why Does He Choose to Abuse? The first question faced by victims of abuse is often, am I in an abusive relationship? And when this question has been answered, it stirs up a second question of equal importance. Is the abuse my fault? We understand you may wonder if things might improve if only you were a bit more compliant, or if you had a stronger backbone, or maybe if you simply stayed out of his way. But research tells another story, and it is one that you need to know. Research on domestic violence reveals that a woman's behavior actually has no bearing on the abuse. In fact, all of the factors that lead to increased or decreased violence are characteristics of the abuser, not the victim. Psychologists Neil Jacobson and John Gottman say it plainly: there was nothing battered women could do to stop the abuse except get out of the relationship. Ultimately, abusive men do not abuse because of what their partners do or do not do. They abuse because of complex internal pathologies beyond your control or responsibility. In other words, as we have said before, it is not your fault. The abuser is the only one to blame for his abuse. Of course, he does not want you to see it this way. As we have discussed, men who abuse share some common characteristics, and one of these characteristics is to blame shift. They want you to believe that you are at fault for the abuse you are receiving, but this is not true. Focusing on your abuser's behavior rather than your response to his behavior is crucial for you to get past any feelings of guilt for what has happened to you. The question of why don't you leave is an important one, but it is often used to put the responsibility on you, the one experiencing abuse. Our hope is that people will instead begin asking, why does he choose to abuse? While characteristics vary from person to person, all abusers share one thing in common: they choose to abuse deliberately. They may blame their behavior on you, an abusive childhood, stress, alcohol problems, their cultural background, financial problems, or their personalities. Others aid in this false claim by assuming violence and abuse only happen because the abuser isn't able to control his behavior. Others still believe abusers do what they do because they were abused as a child, or that their behavior is dictated by mental illness. Certainly, childhood issues, alcohol, drugs, mental, and other health problems may be factors of domestic abuse, but they are not the cause. The truth is, the only reason abusers abuse is because he chooses to. Contrary to what some believe, abusers are able to control the behavior. They do it all the time. Just look at how they behave when they are not around their victims. The flip side of this is that if abusers can indeed control their actions, we believe that perpetrators can also choose to behave respectfully toward others. The bottom line is whether he chooses to abuse or to respect, the responsibility for his choice is his alone. And yet it is not worth risking your safety to stay around and find out what he will choose. We know that certain factors intensify an abuser's desire to abuse, but none of those factors cause abuse. Abusers abuse for one reason: because they want to. Yet there are no acceptable reasons for a partner to abuse another in an intimate relationship. Here's why we believe he's in control of what he's doing. Have you ever seen him suddenly change his behavior in the middle of an abusive episode? Have you noticed that he does not abuse others, only you or your children? More than that, an abuser often makes strategic decisions about the type and amount of abuse. Perpetrators have rules about how far they will go. They are selective about where they will inflict injury on a victim's body, for example, where the bruises will not be seen in public. Many abusers are also excellent at concealing their violent tendencies, putting on a charming face in public, and waiting to unleash their anger and abuse only in the privacy of their own home. All of this shows abusers are quite purposeful about how and where they choose to abuse. So if abuse is always his fault, why do women stay? And I think that's where we will stop for now, for today. Come back tomorrow when we will read why some abused women stay. But for today, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance on you and give you his peace. Shalom. We'll see you next time on the Chaplain channel.